In Ireland, they never teach you about period or anything like that. They just send you out into the woods. It's fucking...
How'd you learn about
My friends put a tampon in me at 19. A lot of girls, as your girlfriends tell you, you figure out, and they showed me how to use a tampon. But I'll tell you this, in the pandemic, the UK put out a tampon ad because they realised Irish and UK women, and most women were like, we don't really know how to use these, and they were using them wrong.
Sorry, I can't hear you. What was that?
You're listening to Your Buddies podcast.
You will grow from boys into men. Whatever, dude.
What does that look? Don't get weird on me.
Hey, buddy.
For all those questions you can't bring yourself to ask your friends, ask your buddies.
We got a great guest for you guys today. From the Shift podcast, absolutely hilarious. From Ireland as well, representing a whole country, Katie Boyle.
Katie, thanks
Thank you.
for doing the podcast.
Do
buddy.
you find that people make you, like, put you as a representative for an entire country, especially in America?
Yeah, which I feel like is unfair to my country.
Not to you, but to your country.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll like make up words just because I don't know the word, and then people be like, "Oh, is that how Irish people say it?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I do a lot of that.
Like what? Do you remember any words?
No, I'm kind of dyslexic, so sometimes I just be like, I don't know, like. I can't think of a word right now. I can't think of any words.
I don't think that's dyslexia. I think that's
dumb.
backwards. I just think that's, yeah.
That's
I
what
think
he's been
just-
saying for years. He's dyslexic, but he's just an idiot.
That's what I say on stage. I can't think of any words. This guy.
I always
Take
say it to
care.
guilt, like in the comments, because I'll always spell things wrong, and they'll be like, you know, like a comment person will
Fucking
write,
idiot.
yeah, and I'm like, actually, I'm dyslexic. It's a real condition.
A comment person. Yeah, those people, those ghouls.
That's
yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
I do represent my country, because we're very skilled in guilting.
Are you...
The Irish guilt is something I know well.
The Irish guilt is stronger than Italian guilt, and Italian guilt's up there. I will tell you that much. How about Jewish guilt? Is that
I'm
up there?
Irish and Catholic. Are you Catholic or are you a Protestant?
Which
one?
Catholic, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
to offend you. I don't
She's
know
one of
if
the good ones. Don't worry about it. This place is not going to get bombed tonight. Except
I mean,
Michael on
the
stage.
Catholics are the ones that did the bombing.
Yeah, really.
I haven't researched, okay? In my eyes, the Catholics are the best. That's what they
That's
are.
why we love Scopo.
Yeah.
He never comes
Protestants,
prepared.
They do one thing. There was that one bomb by the Protestants.
No, there was they did stuff. That was more. It was more the Brits, though. I mean, the
Okay.
Protestants.
I listen to Sunday and Bloody Sunday. I know the deal.
Watch Belfast, because that shows a bit of like what they did to each other up the north. But
Before-
the bomb thing is the IRA.
Before we sort of get into that, because we are going to get into that, you are from the Catholics are the Republic of Ireland, which is like what the
the
South.
majority, yes. So then
Is that called the South, or is it just called Ireland?
we call it Ireland, but I got in a lot of trouble on TikTok recently for saying that. But anyway,
For calling it South Ireland or
no,
calling it Ireland?
we call it Ireland, and the north is just Northern Ireland. But then
And those are the Protestants.
majority, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
the hatred still there? Like, even though it's over 20 years, then it's like there was a...
It's more than 20 years, bro. It's like
What was the last-
hundreds
what was
of
the-
years, right?
No,
like,
it's- what are you talking
Oh, he's
about?
saying since the last thing. So like the thing he's
no,
talking
I'm saying
about.
like it's gone back for.
Oh, no, yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying-
It's like back since the 1600s, but the
Yeah.
thing you're talking about, the peace treaty, was like 20 years or 22 years ago or something like that. I was like 8 or 9.
Do you remember that?
I remember the Omaha bombing. Yeah.
Omaha bombing.
Yeah, there was like a bomb that was like a IRA bomb, but that was, they would do this thing where they would tell people we're gonna bomb here, and then they would move the people to the end of the street, but they would actually bomb at the end of the street. So it was like,
Good people.
Oh wow.
no, they would bomb where they said,
know,
oh, okay.
Yeah, he's being sarcastic.
All right. I just learned that actually, because there's just so much stuff that when you're younger, you're just like, you just know, and you know, it's not until you move over here and people start asking, you're like, oh yeah. But I remember when it was on the news, yeah, that because that was like the big kind of, okay, we need it. When my dad was growing up, there was like customs and stuff like that if you were to go into the north,
Like a border, like- yeah.
So the only reason why it's coming back up fresh now is because of Brexit. So they didn't want customs to go up again. So they're trying to figure out if the North will stay with England or if they'll be their own or if they'll come back into the South. And so the politicians who are for a whole Ireland, Sinn Féin, I think they're like winning up in the North now. So it's all kind of bringing up tensions again, for sure.
Oh, shit, it's
no.
coming back.
Yeah, but I don't know a lot because I'm here. So it's all just like WhatsApp groups of shit. Or I posted a video and like loads of people were commenting on it. I had to stop reading it because...
Did your age group or people your age? I guess our age. We're all sort of same age. I think you're younger than us by a bit. But was there any animosity with did you know people from Northern Ireland or Protestants? Did you have Protestant friends or was it all Catholic friends?
I would say there was no animosity and there was animosity. So let's say no, there wasn't because I was in the South the whole time. So, it's majority. I never actually really knew any Protestants, to be honest.
Really?
But there's also animosity in regards to Ireland's like that anyway. So if I'm from the city and I would go to the country, they'd be like, oh, here's this city fucker. I lived on the top of a hill and we hated the people who lived at the bottom of the hill.
So they're finding beefs, regardless.
Yeah, we have,
Irish have some beefs in them. Yeah,
they're Catholic, but they're also at the top of the hill, so they can rot in hell.
My aunt had a beef from 4 Christmases ago.
Yeah.
She said one word different than they're supposed to say, and they have a beef with each other.
I was just
Irish
thinking the
guilt.
beef there is corned.
no, that's actually
No?
that's actually
Don't tag up this
No,
guy's
no,
fatness.
No, it's
don't,
just
He's being fat as
well,
hell.
no, but it's also not an Irish. That's a specific place from Cork. But I actually think the reason why they have corned beef here is because Irish Americans started to buy from Jewish butcher shops. So it's actually a mix of the two cultures.
Really?
Shout out Jews.
Yeah, because we don't. I never heard of corned beef back home. There's only one
no
place.
corned beef and cabbage back home, right?
Yeah, there's just Cork where they do a type of corned beef, but it's different to the corned beef here.
Really?
Yeah, so it's either maybe Cork immigrants brought it over, but what I read was that it was the mixing of Jewish immigrants and Irish
Americans really know how to screw up cultural. We love to
Or just make
appropriate.
it better.
We love to appropriate, but we also love to we'll take that, but we're not going to do it that way. That's
Yeah.
our favorite thing to do in America is take it and fuck it up somehow.
Yeah, I would say so. I like being here though, so
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a bad place. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's a big part.
It
of
is tough to
America.
talk shit when you're not from here because
people get really mad. And
we're
I'm like-
here.
they
We
get-
chose to be here, right?
People get mad, and my defense is, and I do have a bit about it, so sorry that I'm repeating this, but is that I'm annoyed that I'm here, but I also gave up affordable healthcare to be here, so fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still kind of shit.
Yeah. You
I
could
gave
say
a
that.
lot,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but a lot of people give up a ton to be.
Yeah, way more than me.
somewhere.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, well, no, I guess,
People
it's
leave
hard.
their families back.
I
where
love
they're
my
from.
family as well, though. I came here alone, and I didn't know anybody, and
not one person.
No, well, I did have a distant Irish American cousin, so they had got in contact with our family years ago to find out about our farm, and my dad was like, you should hit them up, and I was like, hello, but I'd already bought it.
They
I never
asked
said it
about
at
the
stage.
farm.
Yeah, because there's a
The hell do they want to know?
well, there's a farm in our family for forever, but so great
Where are they from? The
Longford. My dad still lives there.
No. The people who hit you up, your relatives
Connecticut.
there.
Woodside?
Connecticut.
No.
No, it was.
I was gonna say, who's from Woodside?
It
Call
was
up the
like
Irish.
Sunnyside originally. I should say,
Okay, yeah, it wasn't far off.
Yeah, they got a farm. They got a farm.
And
Hit
then
'em
it,
up.
and then
I
it
know
was
my
Queens.
Everyone belongs in Queens.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
where everyone goes.
Yeah, then it was like deeper Queens, but there was like a my great grandfather, him and all of his brothers left Ireland. They were all gone, and
Where'd they go?
so one went to Canada, one went to England, and 2 went to America. But my great grandfather ran someone over with a taxi because he was a taxi man at the time. They said, and the person was drunk, but at the time they were like, they hate the Irish. You wouldn't even get a fair trial, so they sent him back.
Here, he was running the taxi here.
Yeah,
In
and
New
Ran
York-
someone
in New
over
York?
and
ran
then pissed
someone over,
back off.
Yeah, and then fecked back. So then he went back, and then he became the person who owned the farm. And then there was all this like weird stuff, like where an accountant stole all his money and then ran off to America as well. So there's like all these stories that have been shared over. So when they were like, let's ask about the farm, well, we didn't know that my great grandfather did that. We just thought he came back, and they were like, oh my god, he like ran someone over. That was the story from their family.
He just came back and was like, well, I really couldn't make it out there. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do some
The
sheep.
streets of New York are rough. Land the blood, let me tell you.
Land opportunity, my ass.
He had like a horrible time. He comes back though, had
sounds like it.
7 kids. His
Yeah.
wife died in the last childbirth, so then was left with 7 kids in the farm, and then the accountant ran off to America with all of his money. So he just was left with the farm. I think they had like a way bigger farm or something, but yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
This is your
I did reach out
great-grandfather?
to him. Yeah, my great grandfather.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but I did reach out to that guy, and he was like, "Yeah, you could stay with us for a month or 2 when we first came over," which was really nice.
That's great.
Yeah, so I was like lucky, yeah, in that regard. They were really rich though. It was crazy. I've never met. There's no people like that in Ireland. I did not know that Ireland is actually very socialist.
Oh, for sure. Well, you left
Yeah.
for healthcare.
I had no idea. I just never thought about it growing up, and then I come over here. So rich.
Do you still talk to them, or when's the last time you like?
I
get in touch with
do,
them?
but I kind of feel like
When rent's due.
no, I never took anything off them. They did buy me a bed though, because I knew I was sleeping on an air mattress as a gift, so that was really nice. But no, it's because I don't know. I feel kind of like, I left my family and I don't really have time to be getting. I felt like they really incorporated me really quickly into their family, and I was just like, they're so nice, but I just kind of, I kind of feel guilty. So when you feel guilty and then you're like, I'm just gonna ignore this, and then it's like 3 years, and you're like, shit, I should really go visit.
Yeah,
So-
I get that a lot.
Outside of like materialistic stuff, when you came to the country, what was like a culture shock? Like when you came here? Obviously, money. You're like, holy words.
I mean,
Just
words and behavior. So Americans, I speak a different
words. Yeah, words. Yeah, for
I
sure.
speak a different English.
Yeah.
And it's bad English for sure.
Okay.
I don't speak great English either.
Nobody can tell, Scopo.
That's true.
No
We've
great
seen
English.
your closed
That's true.
captioning,
That's
buddy.
true.
Jesus Christ.
That's true. But yeah, so that, and then I would say that Americans don't, and I know you guys are like comedians, so it's a bit of different, but my experience was no context clues. So I'll be like, oh, I want to get something out of the cupboard, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, standing at the cupboard. Wait, what do you guys call it?
A cupboard?
Shelf?
Is pretty standard.
Cabinet.
Oh,
Cabinet?
cabinet.
I call it a cupboard.
I call it a press originally. I get confused with what words
A
I use.
press?
And that blew people's minds.
Yeah, that doesn't
and
make
there's
any
no
sense.
context clue, like as in like just going, okay, she's standing there, she's obviously like, but just they'd always like, what are you saying?
I would think you're talking about the French press.
So I
Like
thought
a
you'd be
coffee
trying to talk
press.
to a journalist about something. Trying to get something out of the press. Well, I don't know. Do an interview. What do you want me to tell you? Read the newspaper, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I still have fights with my boyfriend over it.
He's trying to think of
I
something.
had nothing for press, honestly.
Guy's really good with
Full
words.
court,
remember?
buddy. How about that?
Oh, full court press. Oh, I should have did that. That's a basketball one. God damn it.
Leland
Give me the
has
next one.
Leland has a whole bit about it, so like it's his joke, but but it's a true story. We were in the hotel and I asked the concierge, is the toilet water okay to drink? And they were both looking at me like I was fucking crazy.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking at you like that
insane.
right now.
Yeah, everyone's looking at you like that. That's insane.
weird. Toilet water?
No one's
You
drinking
know what a toilet is.
I mean, in Ireland, it's just the bathroom. If I said that in Ireland, they'd be like, oh yeah, go, like it's grand.
But you're saying the sink in the bathroom?
It's toilet water, yeah. Not in the toilet.
So what's the water in the toilet?
Yeah, what's
called?
that?
I don't know. It's just toilet water too, but in the context.
COO.
but in the context. TWO.
The sequel.
That's the thing with Americans. Like in Ireland, they're like, yeah, obviously you're not gonna drink the toilet water. Americans are like, you drink toilet water? Is that what you do?
But
Like,
thank you, Chris. That's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly what I'm
Canadians
trying
would
to
have thought
say.
you would have been like, fucking like a dog, like licking it up.
no,
I would have
in
thought that
he's got a
too.
fetish. I don't fucking know his life, you know? Maybe he likes the toilet water. Gets him off. I don't know.
Well, how about like it's obviously religious in Ireland, right? Are people?
No, I would
No.
say it's more cultural because none of us we go to mass out of guilt for your grandparents. My grandparents still check and see if I'm going to mass, but most people just go like for the Christmas and the Easter.
Can I say, I think that stopped in America with my parents. Because my parents never, like, yes, I was an altar boy, but like that was because
You'd have to be with that ass.
Yeah, but I never got hit on.
Oh,
Man.
no.
That was because we got a free trip.
Had to be in
and
Ireland
we
for
got out
that.
of school for like 3 days, and I wanted to go on the free trip every year.
Yeah.
So that's why I became an altar boy.
Anything to
Everything to
skip
not
school.
go to
Yeah. You'd
But,
rather
like,
get fucked by a
I
priest.
remember like my grandmother. I remember my grandmother was like deep into church. She would go to church like twice a week, and my parents, when they were growing up, would go to church twice a week. But then after that, that just kind of stopped. They never like pressured me to go to church.
Okay,
Yeah.
Or anything.
not religious. Like you go to church,
We're
but
full of the shame and the guilt and the.
that's what I'm saying.
And it's also a very superstitious culture, so it's mixed in with like. If
go
I
to
think
hell.
a bad thought, I'll want to touch wood, but also like when I was in Ireland, I would like bless myself sometimes, or there's a lot of like
Wait, touch wood?
yeah, not penis.
No, I know. I got that part. But why just
Okay,
wood?
it's
Jesus was
just
a carpenter?
it's
Don't say that. Don't ask a concierge where you can touch wood. At all. No, by the way, they're gonna look at you just as funny.
I sort of like Scopo's rationale because Jesus was a carpenter. Quick, wood, touch it for our Lord, our Savior. Touch wood, Jesus
I built
Christ.
this wood. Good wood by O.J. Money.
Touch that press.
He's not wrong, and I don't know what the touch wood comes from. It's just I thought it was more like a Celtic thing. But when I can't find wood, this is gonna sound crazy. Sorry, I can't sound like penis.
Do you say that around Leland?
I bring Viagra. No, when I can't find it to touch, if I think of a bad thought, I'll like kiss my cross because Jesus Christ's cross was wood, so it's my. But I'm also maybe a little mental.
No, I think.
But that's that you don't see religion in that. You just see culture and like upbringing.
Yeah,
it's all down. Yeah, I think it's, and we're all like, yeah. So I guess culturally Catholic, like when it comes to sex and stuff, and like.
Yeah, I want to get into that because you have in your joke that's like very shameful over there.
Yeah, especially on women, and you don't talk about it too much.
Well, do you think that you'll make, like, if you have kids and you have grandkids, do you think you will be guilting them into the church stuff, or do you really think it stops with you?
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's
I
great.
think church is great for setting moral
Sure.
boundaries and stuff like that. I think a lot of kids aren't being disciplined nowadays and don't have like a moral compass. And if you don't want to bring your kids religion, that's on you or whatever. But I'm not going to fucking guilt them, and I'm going to talk to them about sex education and consent. And even from a little kid, I'm going to be like, ask, can you hug somebody and stuff. And that's like, in Ireland, they never teach you about period or anything like that. They just send you out into the woods. It's fucking basically.
Don't bleed out there, you rascals.
Everybody's just too uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's all about touching wood over there.
So, like,
Well,
you never learn. How'd you learn about it?
My friends put a tampon in me at 19 in Zakynthos.
We never wore until
What's
you were 19.
Zakynthos?
Hold on.
town?
There's a lot to unpack right here.
You're saying things. Is Zakynthos a word for a fridge, or what the hell are you talking about?
It's a place in Greece. It's a.
Oh, it's a place in Greece.
We went there after, and I always just use pads. But I also have like a really like I don't have a relationship with my mother. She's like mental, but I know from a lot of girls, is your girlfriends tell you figure out, and they showed me how to use a tampon. But I'll tell you this. In the pandemic, the UK put out a tampon ad because they realized they did a survey on Irish and UK women, and most women were like, we don't really know how to use these, and they were using them wrong. So it was really informative.
Up the nose.
Why am I free-bleeding?
Sorry, I can't hear you. What was that?
It's a great ear cleaner.
I used to use them wrong when I was a kid too. I'd steal them from my sister and I'd throw them in the toilet.
These
'cause they'd
Q-tips
explode.
are thick.
Wait,
Hello.
have you seen the tampon?
No.
Yeah, we've seen
Let's pull one
tampons,
out if you're
yeah.
going to pull one out. What
No,
are we
it's
doing?
disgusting to look at.
Could you imagine?
You've seen a tampon?
Of course I've seen a
you've
tampon. I
seen
used
a
to play
tampon?
with them.
Yeah.
You've seen it, so you know what?
Let's
No,
do
a
it.
tampon
Let's talk
is,
about
yeah,
it.
for
Let's
sure.
bring it out.
Will I
This
bring
is
it
great.
out?
So, I need to know what's going on in the UK with their tampons.
Wait, so anyway,
here.
no, wait. So the
At UK
ad
and
comes out.
Ireland.
It's really informative, and the joke for the ad is not just the tip for. No, wait. What's the? Not just the tip. What's that thing that men say?
Not just the tip.
Just
yeah,
the tip,
not
just
just
the
the
tip.
tip. And they thought, that's so funny. And the Irish elder people, you know, the ones who don't even need to use tampons anymore because they've dried up vaginas.
Menopausal
Yeah.
people. Yeah,
Maybe they're
I like the
angry.
dried up
Maybe.
vaginas. It's way better.
Maybe they're angry because they never had tampons. I don't know, or maybe, but anyway, they wrote letters in. This is how I know they're old. Who knows how to write a letter? That's under 70.
No,
like-
absolutely.
Who owns a pen?
Absolutely.
But they took
It
the
was a fountain
ad.
pen. It wasn't.
Wait, they took the ad off the television. They said-
Teaching women how to use a tampon.
yeah, they said it was inappropriate because of just the tip. So
So the old
pretty
dried up vagina letter writers had enough, and
Yeah.
they were like, "We can't have this."
and it
just
was
a
so
tip
great. She
ad.
took it out. Look at this. Look how if you're a young woman, what the hell is this?
Let's zoom in on
What
this.
is this?
It comes in plastic.
And then you gotta go click, and then
Whoa,
and then,
whoa,
and
whoa.
then,
I never
and
seen
then go
that.
like this. Boop.
What was the
I've
clip?
never
And then
seen
it
that.
goes boop.
I like
That's-
the,
that's-
So
first
what
of
was
all,
happening? A lot of the women weren't clicking and just shoving it, and it was just so that's your vagina. It was just staying here, and so it feels really uncomfortable when
Wait,
you're
wait,
walking.
wait,
Hanging out the bottom?
It was just in, whereas this shoves it up into your uterus and
So wait a
blocks
minute.
it.
There
Wait a
was,
minute.
Like
there
the
was
channel.
a time where women would. It would just like let's just for the sake of. That's what would be happening.
No, it would be like
I got your nose.
it would be like this. Whereas if you actually push it in right, it should go up like this and right
Whoa,
into the.
I didn't know
So- or
that
like,
either.
like let's say
Wait a
like
minute.
that.
Wait a minute. Wait. Okay.
But
do
they
it
were
again.
they were getting it where it's just sticking out at the end of the van.
Wait. Do it again. Do it again. Start with the whole thing.
I can't do it again.
I didn't
It's
even know
out
it
now.
comes in this.
I'll give you $1. How
This
much
is
do you
I knew it came in
cool.
that.
I just bought a whole pack the other day.
Well,
I know.
I find them.
$7.99.
Wait, I have a question. You said
This
that-
is
They're
sort of
so
cool.
expensive too. Do you know how much? So I have this anger with, you know, like a lot of American men will
This
really
is
push.
unbelievable. This is
Yeah.
honestly crazy because I thought I was gonna be like, oh, stupid Irish women don't use these.
Getting it?
I am baffled by this thing.
Okay,
What was
here,
the
you can
clip?
try to-
Why
This
the
is
clip?
cool.
Okay, here. So
Hold on, we're just wasting your tampons right now.
No,
it's
no,
fine.
no.
It's fine.
I'll-
It's
I
okay.
got
Are these
I got a
expensive?
couple-
They actually, this is okay.
We'll buy these. We'll buy these.
Well, no, it's fine. No, I will say this is why I get annoyed when men say that there's like, oh, we have to be equal now and we shouldn't pay for the dinner. And the only reason why I think that in a relationship sometimes it would be nice if the guy paid for the dinner every once in a while, because these cost me period stuff and painkillers, and if you're on contraception, could easily cost you $40 a month. Never mind, you have to get one smear test a year if you're having unprotected sex, because the guy, probably most men carry HPV and most women over 30 don't have the vaccine. But
not
still,
this podcast.
You still
clean as a whistle.
You still no. They don't test
one
you.
out of two ain't bad.
They
One
don't.
out of two.
With the HPV, don't worry about that.
And he probably only knows that because his woman probably was tested. They don't test men
I was
because
tested
there's
a
no.
while ago. She goes back. She goes, yeah, you got HPV. I was like, well, it wasn't HIV. That's all I really care about.
And a hint of autism.
And that costs $300 with insurance, and never mind your gyno fee. So there's a lot that women have to pay for that.
I've never ever thought about the expense of being a woman.
So expensive. And never mind
contributing to the equality of what guys should pay for.
Oh yeah.
No, well, wait. I have another example.
Buddy, come on,
What do you
$40
pay for?
What do I pay for?
Yeah. Don't say rent. We know that ain't true.
And you know most women
I pay
pay.
rent. Just wait to you.
And I don't do this because I cut my own hair. But and let's say you guys shave. Women shave too, so that's an equal thing. But most women, they spend like your haircut maybe what $60, $70. You can go to free barber. Fucking $200 for a woman to get a basic haircut. So I cut my own.
Yeah.
And then all
That's
the
way more
makeup they wear.
pricey.
I don't wear makeup because I'm like, I don't give a fuck. They can like me the way I look because that's too expensive. I put like maybe a little bit of like spot
But
cover
also
on.
time is money, because you got to cut your hair, you got to wax, you got to do all that stuff. If you're not going somewhere, you're doing it yourself, and that takes time.
And then you look at if you're to get pregnant, all that time. So your career trajectory, you're going to be out for 6 months afterwards. So let's say 6 to 7 months losing that, the money you're going to lose, the cost it will to fucking get your vagina. It's just there's a lot of like. I think what the government needs to do is give free tampons, make sure that they're looking after women if they're having babies and all that shit.
But the money you're gonna get money if you're on what's that called?
Paternity
leave.
Well, yeah, but
that's if you have a job that pays for paternity
yeah,
leave.
like mine doesn't.
You gotta
I'm
have a
comedian.
kid, bro.
And then secondly,
that's true,
it costs $50,000 in New York City to give birth. So
this
That's why you got to move to Ireland.
I'm going back to Ireland. I would
Yeah.
show Leland because we've talked, because obviously I'm 32 in October and he's 12. I mean, he's 27.
Good
Isn't
looking
it?
12-year-old.
I know. Oops, that's like pedophilia. Or you guys say pedophile, we say pedophile, but
It does sound more goofy the way you say
pedophile,
that.
yeah.
You do,
Pedophile.
That's like
your culture, your language. There are some goofy things, like the way you say
Yeah.
Catholic, and now the way you say pedophile. That just
Pedo
sounds
is-
fun.
We just make all the dark stuff. Of course, we would make it fun since we created the pedophile.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, who didn't experience a pedophile in Ireland?
so you think because of it's a conservative culture, this like teaching and educating women on not how to use a tampon or lack
So
thereof.
go back to that because we were on something really interesting. You said that the tampon, like they didn't know how to use them.
Yeah.
So now what's
This
now
is
what are we
tricky, though.
doing? Like now what are they doing over there to make this work?
Nothing. They're not doing anything. I think the UK is trying to bring in, and maybe they just brought in free tampons or certain ones that are free, which is great because even the ones that are like not bad for your vagina, like organic, are also really expensive. I don't really care about those though, so I just use these. But
I had to buy these the other day for my girlfriend. She asked me, she said, "Oh, while you're there, get these," and I didn't know what to buy, so I was just like, the most expensive one. She gets what she wants. I was just trying to be a nice guy. She goes, "Oh, these were great. You spend a lot of money." She goes, "I don't like the plastic because it's a waste of plastic."
yeah,
And I was like,
Would you get her medal?
No, I got the
I
plastic.
love the plastic.
She goes, "They're easier, but they're."
I love the plastic.
It's you're just throwing away plastic.
I know. Now we wasted
Yeah,
more.
she's a tree hugger, Mike.
Yeah, I
Do
know.
you want to try open it?
No.
So wait.
Are you sure? Do you
Yeah,
want
no,
to try?
I'm
it?
Yeah,
thank
I'll
you.
give it a shot.
What, you gotta get her
to
a
waste your tampon.
No, I'm not gonna use it now.
That's
You
like-
just
Yeah, what-
told us how expensive
She just
everything
took it-
is.
Yeah, it's like $14 right there. You just lost.
She just took it out of the package. She's gonna be like, "Hey, what do you think of this?
This
good?"
is-
And then she's
Hey,
gonna
hey,
shove
shove
it
it
in
in
my
my
face with that,
vagina.
for Christ's
Is
sake.
that been on a
It's- it's-
vagina?
Put it on my nose.
yet?
Put it on my nose. Yeah, there it is. How it goes in your
And then
nose.
This is the most
Pops into your brain.
immature.
Did you ever see,
Oh,
did you ever see hockey players that use that shit for their nosebleed? I swear to God, they just pump it up there. They're like, oh, it's easy.
So, teach me how.
So
I mean, you don't have to like
pull it
hold my
till you
hand.
click it.
Pull it till it clicks.
Yeah.
Where do I hold it? Here.
Yeah,
So gentle, Mike.
and that has to click in your vagina.
So why
and
the
then
click?
push it in. So this is in a vagina, and then
So it's up to the vagina here.
the click is so that you know it's ready to go, and then you push that
That's
up. And
pretty
it's-
hard.
And you do it like a syringe.
Yeah,
usually?
like a syringe.
But like
So-
this.
So like your one's here, and then go like this with your other hand.
Oh, like this. So,
Yeah.
but if you're not holding here,
I hold it.
it could
I
go
hold
all the way
end.
up.
So you do this like before you go out?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Or do you ever
or
do it,
during when
like,
I'm going out?
Before you go
all the
down
time.
on the train.
No, but like when you're out, you do it too.
And then,
Yeah, because they only last for a few hours.
I mean, I
I don't
don't
know this. I know
I
this.
know, I know, but I know, but I
And
don't
that's a
know how
regular
often.
size.
But it's an
Regular.
uncomfortable conversation.
Every
So
time I
this
have to go to the
is- this
bathroom, they
is
have to take
like-
it out and do new one.
this is wild.
I thought it. Yeah,
I can't believe
every
you have to pay
time.
for this.
Es-
This is
es-
nuts.
I know, it is nuts.
Every
Is this
time.
what you thought was going to happen tonight? You're gonna
No.
we're going to be breaking apart
We didn't think so
tampons?
either, actually.
I think
This is incredible.
But yeah, I think a
gonna
lot
put
of guys
these on
don't know
display
that.
here.
They don't realize.
No.
Another thing they don't teach guys as well is like, okay, so
Ireland specifically.
well, and I would say the whole world. Let's say
Okay.
we don't teach what is a crime versus like when sex and sexual assault.
Yeah, just the tip is the crime.
Well, like stealthing. I was stealthed by a guy.
What's stealth?
stealth?
So it's where.
Maybe I've done that.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I feel like a
I don't
lot.
know what it is.
And I haven't I never called him out on it or anything because at the time I was just like, well, that was shitty. And then a few years later, I was like, oh, I had no idea that's an actual crime. And I still wouldn't have called him out because he was a friend at the time, but it was still really shitty. Okay, I'll tell you. You're having sex. Now, I was really, really drunk and I provided a condom because I remember
He
because
took it off.
he took it off without
There you
telling
go.
me. And then had sex. And then actually
That's rape, actually.
I ended
That
up
is-
getting I ended up getting HPV and having to pay so much money to get rid of it. And I always use condoms by my ex-boyfriend in Ireland, and he was a comedian, but he obviously, but he oh my god, look, it's in here. But sorry,
I decorated.
I love it.
That's
It's
staying in. Can we
We're going to
keep that
stay
in?
here. This
Yeah,
is this is now part of our
This is our part of our
decor.
thing.
But
I like
he
this.
had a joke where he was like, "Oh, this girl provided me a jumbo condom," and like a whole bit about it. So I was like, "Oh yeah," so like, and I was really drunk, but I was like, I remember giving the condom, and then I remember kind of falling asleep during the sex. And
great sex.
so the next day he like literally like a couple days later had jokes about, oh, she gave me a jumbo condom. That's like trying to fit it into. Anyway, I better not say a joke because he'll get found out. But then, but when the next morning I was like, I always saw the condom on the ground, thank God, because like, you know, and he was like, well, I took it off halfway through, and then he laughed. And then I was just kind of so in shock I didn't say anything, and I just like left it for years.
Yeah, that is a crime.
No,
That is
I would like to officially say I've never done that.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I thought
no.
You said stealthing. I assumed
Yeah.
that was like
A
like an
stealth
Irish
lover?
Irish way of saying ghosting.
Yours
I was
have-
like, I've done that.
Yours
but
have
I've definitely
fallen
not
off
stealthed
probably because you have a small penis, but not on purpose.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so condoms have fallen
He
off
put a sausage and pepper
inside.
up there, actually. He thought it was
And
better.
it's like, yeah, but it ain't.
No, but if you can't do that on purpose, you
Yeah,
can't.
you can.
That's a rape.
That's
rape.
not consensual.
That's not
Yeah.
consensual.
And I think that a lot of Irish men and women were not brought up to talk about, and we were also told. I even got in trouble for this bloody TikTok video, but I was trying to explain that I was brought up in a place where I say no. You know, like, oh no, like, can I come home with you? And no. And they're like, oh, go on. I'm like, just for tea. And then I bring them back and they're like, oh, we have sex. I'm like, no. And they're like, go on. I'm like, okay. And it's like more to absolve my guilt. But actually then that became, Irish women aren't really taught how to just say what we want. And then Irish men are kind of taught to like maybe pressure a little bit. But I'm hoping with the next generation that will kind of fade away.
That's interesting because I've heard that before, that Irish women are like the pardon the offensiveness of what's about to be, but this is what I've heard before, that the way to sleep with an Irish woman is to just keep asking, because they'll eventually say yes, because what they do, what Irish women do is say no, because
Yeah.
that's just part of the routine for them.
No, absolutely.
Even
It's
if they
meant-
want to.
It's meant to imply, because to us, and it's so much internalized misogyny that at the time, or in Ireland, we think it's bad to be slushy. So we also, Irish women will slut shame a bit too, and you're trying to seem like, oh, like you got to work for it. And then I come over here, I'm saying no, and men are like, okay, and I'm like, wait, what?
So did it fuck you up initially?
Yeah, I was a
So
bit
American men,
confused.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Scopo,
all of them,
gentlemen.
but
Did you just miss that last story?
yeah. Well, that guy wasn't
He
American.
was Irish. He was Irish.
Yeah.
But so when you came here initially, how long did it take for you to be like, oh, I could tell these guys to go fuck themselves? And they will. Literally and figuratively. They will leave me alone and probably jerk off.
Oh, yeah. I remember actually another comedian who has now gotten in trouble. I never said anything at the time. This is the other thing. You always feel guilty because I don't want to ever say anything because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to cause any problems. And then you
You're
find
Irish
out.
as fuck,
I
aren't you?
know. And then you find out they do other shit and you're like, oh,
What's up
shit.
with Chris D'Elia?
No. But this guy, I just was kissing him, and then he was trying to pressure me to go home with him, and a cab came by, and he was like, no, don't go, no, and he was grabbing me, and I actually go, no means no, and then I pushed him off me, and I got in the cab, but I had just started comedy, so it's like 7 years ago. But yeah, so that was like a big thing, because that's the thing, like Irish guys won't push, they'll just ask a lot.
They won't like physically push you.
Like physically
No,
grab
not
me.
too many people will. I mean, I don't know. Guys are
So
gonna
what's
physically-
the
They'll badger you down. Irish guys
is
will
that
badger you.
is that gone for you? Like, I mean, you're in a relationship now, but like, how long until you realize, like, was it that moment when you at the cab where you go,
I think so,
I can
because
just
that
say
was
what I want?
after the stealth. I'm pretty sure that was after the stealthing, because the very first like 6 months to a year I moved here, I drank I drank as much as I was drinking in Ireland. I've honestly drank every weekend blackout since I was 13. So I'm
Irish.
Yeah, no.
Apparently.
So am I. That count, actually.
But when I came here and that happened, and then that was a rare night where I wasn't really drinking, and so I started to be like, wait, I'm not safe here. And because it's different with Ireland a bit, I was always going out with the guys, and there was like a group of guys that see me as like a little sister, or I had a really long-term boyfriend or whatever, and you're just this like, smaller place. So I was like, geez, I'm gonna get murdered. And then hearing, I don't know, just like hearing American women, especially that first year in comedy, and that what they were saying is like bad, and I was like, wow, I've been assaulted.
What was your shock when you first heard like American women saying whatever the hell they want on stage?
I thought it was like wild, because I remember when a woman was getting a Irish girl back home who was older than me, was taking on our chef for grabbing her tits at work, and everybody was like, will she just leave it be? And there's this attitude like, oh God, like women should just like get over it, move on. And that same chef always used to slap my arse and grab me, and I would
suck
just
your arse.
slap it.
I was like, what the fuck's
he's
going
like,
on at
he's your
this
boss.
restaurant? Okay.
He's your boss, and he would like grab it and stuff,
Yeah,
but like
yeah,
make
yeah.
it out like a
You
joke.
can't do that.
But
That's here in Ireland.
This is in Ireland. And
That's
it was always on the
crazy.
women, like, you just don't want to be like, because they always shame women who speak out and even you have that internalized misogyny. Like, I remember being like, oh my God, I can't believe she's actually speaking out. But I was like, I really liked her, and she was like a mother figure to me there. And so it was like really, like, that was like a thing that I was like, oh my God, I've never heard of someone speaking out. Like, he's doing it to all of us. Why? I'm so surprised. And she was just like a 40-year-old woman who was like, I'm not putting up with this shit. She ended up having to leave the job, and he didn't get fired. And
That's
so when I
crazy.
came over here and heard more and more American women talking about like what's not okay and what's not cool, I was like, whoa, I had no idea that I came from such a
misogynistic environment.
Yeah.
Your mind must have been blown when the first time you heard like a black or like a Latina woman tell some guy to go fuck himself or something.
Well,
You must have been like, whoa, baby.
Yeah, I do feel like Irish women as well no, actually, maybe not. Yeah.
How about the first time you heard the Guys We Fucked podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. I went on that and I cried. So
Oh no.
no, it was fun, but
We got our
Oh,
work cut
good
out
cry.
for us.
Yeah, good cries.
yeah.
That's crazy though.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else specifically. But yeah, I don't know. I do think it'll change, I hope. I was just talking to a girl from back home, and she was saying our younger sisters are both a similar age, and she was saying her younger sister, she already feels she's a bit more vocal and stuff than we were.
It's going to be that way because of obviously the internet has a lot of garbage, but you know, you see TikTok, you see like
TikTok will probably
Yeah.
help.
YouTube, all that shit.
I knew what I was going to say. Well, here's the thing. When we got abortion the same time, a woman who was... Cause we got abortion because the likes of my age all travel back. It was like a crazy amount of people coming back to vote. But this around the same time, a woman who was raped, they used her tongue as evidence against her. And the lawyer who was against her was a woman. So like that's wild. So that's so it's same. And then you look at it this way. I'm saying like we need sex education, but right now the Catholic Church is they run all of the primary schools. My secondary school wasn't Catholic, but they're trying to put in a Catholic. What's that called? Where you don't have sex. What's it called?
Contract?
They want to
abstinence.
abstinence. This was in the news, like maybe during the pandemic, they were trying to get abstinence sex education, and a lot of teachers were trying to like vocalize that can't happen. But they have they right now run 90% of the schools. So there's all this progressive stuff, but all this opposite progressive stuff at the same time.
Old people and
the old
people
people
in
all just need to-
power.
Do
Well,
they
they have
run-
power,
does
right?
The old people run Ireland? Like the old politicians and stuff like that? Are there any new, like AOC coming up?
Yeah, there was our prime minister. Our prime minister is is a gay man, but I think he's still a little conservative. He's not the prime minister anymore. But I think, I think so. I just think sometimes when progressive stuff happens, there's always like that other. But, I knew the thing I was going to say. I remember when there was a rape case and they went through her whole life and published it, and it was really horrible. And I remember like
they called her like a slut or whatever the hell to make her look
to
bad.
basically be like, well, she deserved it.
It was like
she's a bad person.
It like ruined her life.
That was the what are you wearing of trials.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I remember my dad being like, oh my God, like if that was my daughter, I'd want to like, well, let's not say my dad actually, well, quote unquote a person would want to murder that person instead of having their daughter, because it's like their daughter the woman is going through another traumatic experience. It's really tough. So, but I'm sure that's the same in America. It's the one thing where the woman has to prove, or the person has to prove they're a victim.
Yeah, it's a weird place to you have to prove the crime rather than prove the innocence.
And how do you prove stealthing? All the guy has to say is, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you? And when you think in Ireland, up until 2018, to get an abortion, you had to go to England, and that cost between £400 and £1,500. And within 4 years, because I was reading an article about it the other day, because I'm doing a project on it, but 25,000 women went over to get an abortion. And so let's say if any of those women were even, you could. After 97, you could have an abortion if you were raped. But in 12 weeks, how do you prove you were raped to get in time to get an abortion?
Yeah, like you don't even you don't even know. So you
don't even know.
By the time you know you're pregnant, you got to fucking jump on that boat over, and then so you've committed the crime by going over. So it's like a really just.
Oh, is that a crime to do that?
It was until 2018. Now it's not, and you can get an abortion within 12 weeks.
Any women go to jail for that?
No, but my dad and my stepmom met on the very first case for the very first woman who was, so she was a young 13-year-old and she was raped. And
this is your dad?
Yeah, my dad met because my dad was the policeman on the case.
Yeah. I know he's a police officer.
Yeah. You're like, where's this story going?
Yeah, you missed a bit of
my mom was happy when she was 13, and my dad.
Okay.
And so my stepmom was the social care worker, and so that's just how they met, just because they were involved in that, like just through their job, putting them there.
Yeah.
But that girl was assaulted and she didn't want to have the baby, and so she was kind of kicked out of her family. And now in years later, I think she's come out and said she regrets having the abortion. But I mean, she was like really, like, it was right before the day that by the time the courts overturned the whole law, and this was in like 97, so it was like a wild case. And at the time, of course, the 13-year-old was still saying she didn't want it, but I'm sure her life was just like it was just so long before they got her the help she needed.
You know how you were saying like the younger generation of women are sort of growing and putting their foot down and going like no means no.
I hope so.
You know, in Ireland, you hope from your friend you heard.
I hope so, but then I heard from another young woman that it was like a feeling of obligation to always give blowjobs to the young guys.
Well, that's a rule, I think, nationwide, internationally, universally.
For young women,
even our producer gave a thumbs up on that one.
No, when I was young, it was just hand jobs, and like, I mean, but now I didn't realize that it was like. So that was a bit strange to hear that. And that was like a very young person who told me that. They just they wrote into the podcast and told me their age, and they were like, "There's a lot of pressure, and then there's a lot of pressure on like like a lot of younger girls will say masturbation is disgusting or body hair is disgusting." But anyway, go Mahay.
No, I was just gonna say like, do you hear anything about the guys though? Are the guys becoming more like progressive, or where they're talking about, you know, hey, this girl said no, like leave her alone. Like,
well, there was the normal people. That's another thing. A bunch of people tried to get that cancelled off TV. You know, Sally Rooney's Normal People, because there's a sex scene in it between the two 17-year-olds. Now the actors aren't 17, but it shows it's quite like
a depiction of
and it's him saying, "Are you sure you want to have sex?" And she's like, "Yeah," and he automatically grabs a condom. So it's an amazing thing for young people to see that should be the standard, and you should ask. And it's still very sexy and very hot and raunchy. But of course, there's like a local radio station that people call into called, I can't remember, like Joe Murphy or something, or Joe Dolan, I can't remember. But they were all like giving it stink, like that's so inappropriate. And then other people were like, no, this is good. If we're not going to talk to our kids about consent, it's great that there's something on TV showing it.
So what's appropriate? Someone, you know, getting essentially raped because they don't like, I don't understand how.
This is the thing, they don't want to.
They shut their eyes and it's all fine.
Yeah, and it's not fine, because then you go out and get HPV or, you know, or whatever, or hurt, or that's it.
Do you ever defend, like, as everyone always talks about how fucked up this country is, but do you ever defend it? Because you probably see some things that are more progressive than Ireland.
I think here
every place has its fucked up things.
Yeah, but let's say Ireland and America can learn from each other. So Ireland, it's okay to be sad. It's kind of weird if you're too happy. Over here,
Fit it right in.
yeah, over here it is so much pressure to be happy, and it's weird if you're sad. And I think there's this whole thing where you're like, you're medicating your kids, and no one's allowed to be sad. Go to therapy, and it's like, if you're gonna, like, when I'm really happy, I'm like, whew, I already in my head like, it's gonna be a sad day next week. So you gotta
have an equal number of happy and sad days. Yeah,
And
yeah.
That's for sure a Catholic thing. That's
Yeah.
that's
Irish. I
exactly.
guess it's like-
but then
Italians do the same shit.
How about therapy? You said therapy. Therapy doesn't exist over there.
It does, but it's really bad. Like, the mental health services are really, really bad,
If-
and it's
if
not
you go
their
to-
fault. I'm sure there's just not enough
If you
funding.
go to therapy, you consider it weak.
You would feel it yourself, but I
Okay.
think people are getting. I mean, and that's just the culture. But people are trying not to put that on people anymore. They're really trying to understand because I have heard a lot of Irish friends really talk about going to therapy and promoting, but a lot of my Irish friends left the country, so
These are people who are gone.
yeah. But I feel like they're sending that message back. Like, therapy's good, because my dad. I should have went to therapy when I was small. I remember my dad being like, oh, I don't think it's sometimes, like, I know he should have went to therapy as well. And I asked him why he didn't go to therapy, and he was like, I'd rather like lock it all in and just move on from it. And I'm like, now I'm talking to him like, that's really, like, you should go to therapy. And he was like, I just like black things out sometimes. And I'm like,
They're gonna come back.
yeah, I don't think they will. Like, he is.
Well, he's got the double whammy because he's a cop and he's Irish.
Yeah, but now
So-
he's like, I go to therapy, and I'm like, it's really
Oh, he
great.
goes.
No, I go. No, he
Oh,
doesn't.
sorry,
No,
sorry,
he's
sorry,
never.
sorry,
He'll
sorry.
never go to therapy.
Yeah.
But he's saying,
Talks to the chickens.
yeah, talks to the horses actually. He really does. But he's like, oh my god, that's so great, and I think it's so great you're going. So he's like understanding it now. But I just know, if like 10 years ago, nobody really talked about therapy.
I'd love to have a recording of him talking to the horses. Like, how you doing today, horse? Me? Not great.
Yeah. I mean, my dad's super progressive than most. So
For in terms of an Irishman,
An Irish cop.
yeah,
an Irish cop,
yeah.
or in general.
I mean, I think he's really, because I remember one time talking about this like stereotype of people, and I think that Irish, I'm not going to say who because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but that Irish stereotype a certain people, and I remember him being like,
Go ahead, get him in trouble. I don't care. We don't care. If
he
you
won't,
want to say
he
it,
won't
say
get
it.
in trouble, but I don't want to give out about Irish people.
Yeah.
But him saying, you know what, that's such an outdated stereotype, and I think Irish people in Ireland just haven't met those people, and like, there's like, all religions have progressed in certain ways, and we shouldn't listen to stereotypes. And I was like, whoa, look at him, he's so woke.
Yeah, that's cool though.
No, he's great.
That's
I mean,
cool to
yeah, and
see.
even the therapy thing, like, I just think I should have went when I was younger, but nobody really talked about it anyway. And the only thing I had with a counselor in school was pretty fucked up. So,
Cancer in school.
counselor.
Counselor. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and there was a thing called Pete, a house near my home where kids could go to, but again, you just really wouldn't. You just kind of, it's just so uncomfortable to talk about your emotions, and then your parents aren't talking about your emotions. My dad gave me a compliment today. It's the first time he've ever said. He was like,
Today.
he was like talking about one of my stand-up videos that he really liked, and I've never really heard him like. I mean, I guess anyway. It was just, and he was like, I said, my cousin keeps calling me her sister to people. I was like, I really think she thinks I'm going to make it, and she wants that boat. And he goes, I think you're going to make it too. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, if anybody deserves it, you do. And he goes, I have to go.
He immediately realized, he goes, oh, that hurt. That physically hurt. What did I just do?
Walks to the shed, looks at the horse, dead in the eyes, like
Talk to some horses. I gotta do this right now.
He lights up a cigarette for himself and the horse. He goes, big day, big day.
alphabet soup. I don't know. Just told my daughter I loved her alphabet soup. Hello.
I have a joke about him lighting a cigarette, because my mother used to like be really violent, and he would have to
Your
lock
mother was violent.
Yeah, we would have to lock ourselves in the bathroom. And one time when he had us locked in the bathroom, he was holding the door closed because she would just throw herself up against it. Your face is hilarious. Throw herself up
Sorry.
against it. And he lit a cigarette, and he looked at me and he was like, I hope you're learning how not to behave.
He's in the bathroom with you.
I'm on the toilet seat. I was only 5. And he was holding it, and because she would be like, honestly, sometimes I'm like, was she possessed? Maybe. But
Dad's holding the door,
holding
smoking
the
a
door.
cigarette.
It's like pounding. I'm 5 and he's just smoking. He goes, I hope you're learning how not to behave. And that was
wow.
And you're like, give me a cigarette.
yeah. Well, he caught me smoking at 13 and I thought I was going to be in so much trouble. And he goes, oh, I had to do it too to live with your mother.
This guy's the best.
He is the best. We're really lucky. Like, I have to say,
That's nice.
I am. Like, I don't speak to my mother and she was like awful. But my dad is so great that I'm like, whatever. It all balances
Can
out.
can we unpack that a little bit, or do you not? Or
Oh, yeah.
are you
she
open about it?
Yeah. She had tried to get me cancelled off my podcast, which was hilarious.
Your mom tried to get you canceled off your podcast.
Yeah, because I talked about it on the podcast. But you know what the crazy thing was? I never went into detail in some of the sick shit she did. So I was like, bitch, you should be happy I'm not fucking. But also, it's like,
Going deep.
she's acting like she's the mafia in Ireland. Like, they always care what people think. It's like, and it is mortifying, I'm sure. But it's also like, well, then you shouldn't have been. I can't.
You're her only. You're her only daughter.
Yeah,
A child.
and I left when I was 18. I walked out of the house with just my school bag because I was just like, I can't do this.
Well, how
anymore.
long were your parents married?
They were married until I was 5, and then my dad left.
After the bathroom incident.
Well, I mean, a way worse incident. And I don't,
Yeah.
I did like, of course, there's a little bit where you're like, well, that's kind of shit that I had to stay there. But also, in hindsight, he was only young, and I don't blame him. And he probably would have, she would have pushed him. I mean, the man's a saint for being there 5 years.
So
Sometimes a divorce is very good for people.
yeah, but I probably should have went with my father.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So
you
you
went
live-
with your mom.
I was with my mom.
stayed
yeah.
with your mom.
But I don't know if he had rights at the time. There wasn't a lot of father rights, and I'm sure for him it was probably like really PTSD, traumatizing, and
I'm
just get out
sure.
of there. And I'm sure he didn't expect what would happen to me when he was gone, if that makes sense.
So 5 to 18, you were with your mom.
Yeah.
See you and
Always
your
with
dad.
mom? Always.
I would stay weekends with my dad.
Did she work? Was she working as well, or was she
She
like
would always lose a job. Yeah,
Okay.
she's very like.
in Ireland? Is
She
it
was
like,
having to rebuild doors that she kept trying to run through.
yeah.
She was a carpenter.
That's
Knock on wood.
Oh, mommy.
Oh no! Oh, that's fucked up.
in Ireland? Is it like the dad goes to work and then the mom stays home type thing, or is it?
No, it's kind of pretty
okay.
even keel. Yeah, like I mean, maybe our grandparents, like my,
Okay,
but
okay.
my grandmother was like working a nursing job, while my grandfather was working. It's pretty much Irish women are really working, like hard working. Like they'll be the ones raising the kids while doing fucking 2 jobs. My stepmother worked a full-time job while 4 kids. Like they're
You
just.
got to go to what's it called, the Ellis Island, and check out the exhibit, and you read about Irish women, and they're tough as nails.
Yeah.
They had to raise 17 kids and then
they'd be
work,
popping out kids while
and then
working in a mine or
yeah,
something.
they were swimming in North America.
Does
like,
any of
they were
that
nuts.
transfer, like, where you feel like, is there any guilt around not being that type of an Irish woman, or like letting that part of like Irish culture, like
I
when
am
you're not raised?
extremely hardworking.
No. Obviously, I mean like having like that like
Kids
forced
part?
into tough like labor, and like they were doing all kinds of crazy
She,
shit.
No.
she works pretty hard. I thought you meant the kids part. Like,
I thought you meant
all
the
of
kids
it.
part,
I'm talking about all of
too.
it. Raising 2
No.
families,
Shit,
having
Mike,
4
making it
jobs.
seem like she's a.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, do you ever look at, because I guess I'm taking a shot at other people here, not you, but like, do you ever like see girls in North America and they complain about things and you're like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
I work my
mean-
ass off, and
Yeah.
my grandmothers were working their ass off. Like, this is not a issue.
Well, I would say, this is like a long way to answer this, but for me, the pandemic stopped me overworking because working hard was a part of my identity, which is really bad. And it's part of my dad's. My dad, the man doesn't know how to fucking sit down. And then it's because of his parents and all of that shit, and it trickles down. But I did learn to like just relax a little bit because it was making me sick. Because I was working like 2 day jobs while doing stand-up every night. Like I was working... I only had Sunday mornings off and doing every night and doing the podcast. Like I was non-stop running around. But I do then, I have like some girlfriends, comedians, let's say, and they'll be talking about fucking doing a podcast for a year. And I get to at one point where I'm like, I can't fucking hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
Either do it or shut the fuck up, because, you're like, they're like, I'm too busy. And I'm like, at this time, I'm doing 3 podcasts while doing stand-up every night and working. So I'm like, you're not that fucking busy. So I have to be very careful not to snap their head off, but also... be like, yeah, it is a little bit where I'm like, I'm rolling my eyes a bit, where I'm like, just do it, and I think that's the attitude a bit in Ireland. It's like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Which makes us
Well,
not
sure.
deal with our emotions.
You got fucking cooks smacking tits at restaurants, and people are like, "Oh, I can't say anything. Just got to get on with it. Onion rings,
Smile.
here, yeah, it's insane."
You're at work. You're like, I do have a nice ass. Anyway, would you like ranch with that salad?
I know.
It's a compliment. I smacked your ass. That's what it is.
It's such misogyny that you're like, oh, I must have a nice ass. I remember like, and it's so weird. And then you come over here and it's like, or like the cat calling. I know this is really hacky to say, but I thought it was nice when I first moved over because I was like, oh my God, I've never felt so pretty. And then and then American women were like, no, that's bad. That's misogyny. And I was like, it was like I had to rewire my brain.
It seemed very
You're
nice.
like, I hate it.
I actually was going to ask you about catcalling, but you answered that question. So that was.
What's a nice catcall for you?
I mean, most of them are usually just like, hey, like you're hot or sexy or whatever, and I just go, thank you. And then
Is that bad?
I think it's not nice when it's like
Come over here. Get over here.
expected, you know. Or there's another thing that I've gotten really pissed off about now that I'm all woke in female issues.
Yeah, get in it.
And the other day, a male comedian, you know the way I always go and I hug everybody and I say hi and whatever, and I'm very friendly to everybody. And I just had a fucking weird hosting set where everything was going fine. I made a joke about wanting to be a dad, and a guy in the audience got really pissed off about it. And that hasn't happened in a while because it's a stupid joke. The joke is I only want to have kids if I can be dad, just because I want to be able to leave. But I guess maybe his kids were taken away from him or something like that. And he got really pissed off about it. But it was just like a silly one-line thing.
That's pretty funny, though.
What did he do?
I said to Michael, my dad left. I'm still friends with him. But what are you talking about?
What do you mean he got mad? What did he do?
He was like, no, and not and then I was like, why do you feel that way? Because he was so vocal about it, and I kind of shut down the rest of the audience. He goes, I'm not getting into it. And I'm like, and I was just kind of like,
Whatever.
and I feel my face
What'd
getting
you
red.
do to get your kids taken away?
Let's deep dive, buddy.
I mean, I hadn't even. This was like no one ever does that to me. I have
So
seven.
what happened? What happened with the comedian, though?
So I go outside. I see Lindsay. I'm like, oh, I gotta.
That's a whole nightmare in itself.
No, I love Lindsay.
Timestamp. We'll put her picture up. Yeah.
Just put her voice up.
She's great. No,
I love Lindsay too, but yeah.
and, you know, she's a little. She's.
And if these two ever had sex, that'd be the nightmare. Honestly, cats would kill themselves.
Jesus.
Or they just sound like cats fucking.
Steve, you good? I don't know, Lindsay.
So what happened? What happened?
So I'm talking to her in an intense, and she's being like, oh my God, this is like the 5:30 show that always brings out crazy people. And then all I hear a comedian go, and I had seen out of the corner of my eye, he was rolling a joint, so he's busy. I'm not gonna. And also, I'm in the middle of something. And he loudly, for the whole comedy club, was like, oh, Katie doesn't come over and say hi anymore. And I automatically went to go, oh my God. And I went, I'm so. And then I just stopped because I was like, why do people always do this to me? Why can't they come say hi to me? And it's always men. Women never do that. And I go, wait, you could have come over and said hi to me, and you're in the middle of something, and I'm in the middle of something. And then Brendan Sagal was like, yeah, you could have said hi. And then Lindsay goes, patriarchy.
Well, that's good.
But
I know who it was. I tell you that. From the way that said, yeah, rolling a joint, said that, I know exactly who it was.
And I really
can't
liked the
wait.
person, and I gave them a hug afterwards, and it wasn't directed towards him. It's just that I've had so many guys do that to me. I got messages from guys being like, hey, I saw you last night in New York Comedy Club, but you didn't say hi. Is everything okay? And I'm like, why didn't you come over and say hi? And then my best friend in Ireland, she's like a very direct, kind of like strong woman. She does like bodybuilding. She was out at a party, and then her boyfriend came up and said that his friend called her a bitch. And she was like, why does he think I'm a bitch? And he goes, well, he said you didn't go over and say hi to him. And she was like, so he thinks I'm a bitch for not going over and saying hi, but it never occurred to him to go over and say hi to her.
And
Like,
he sent his friend to tell me about this?
He
Like,
said it
this
to her
guy's a
boyfriend.
bitch.
He
He said it to her boyfriend. He said, your
boyfriend.
girlfriend's a bitch. And he goes, why? And she goes, well, she didn't say hi to me tonight.
Why didn't the guy
Because they think
smack
because
him in the
they're-
face?
Well, but also the guys are brought up thinking that because, you know, look at Lindsay. She doesn't smile at everybody. What do men always automatically think? She's a bitch. They always, when they get to know her, they'll always say to me, Lindsay's
Yeah.
way nicer than I thought.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
always
yeah.
go,
People
why?
say about me, too.
They never said the second part.
No.
I do think it's expected more on women to be
I
smiling.
think a lot of people
and
like, I
It
thought
is,
I
you're
thought you were a
right.
dick, and then I was like, I'm just a quiet guy.
And I
then,
smile, and then every Tom, Dick, and Harry comes up and says hello to me. We were walking down the street, and I swear to God, I was walking with Chansu, and there was just a guy, and I just smile. I like to smile.
Yeah.
And then he goes, hug, and he went to grab me, and I
regular guy, random guy?
regular guy, and I just
fuck
jumped
me.
like no hug, and then we just kept walking, and Chansu was like, can we unpack what the fuck just happened? And I
Sure
was
he
like,
wasn't homeless.
this happens to me. I mean,
Was he crazy? Was he a little
crazy.
crazy?
Yeah,
but that happens
okay.
to me so much, and it's always, I mean,
Well, fucking don't smile. You're in New York now, sweetie. You know?
oh. But then if
that
I don't
shit
smile,
down.
I have guys having an insecure meltdown that I don't smile at them or hug them anymore.
Tell Phil Duckett to fuck off. Honestly.
A lot of your problems are you're hanging out with comedians. That's a lot of the issues for
No,
sure.
but that's a Irish. She's my friend back home she's Irish.
though,
and
that
was Irish
guy's-
guys.
that
I just
guy's-
think everywhere there is, and I'm sure the guys don't realize that women now are trying to like figure out in our place in the world too, where we don't. Because my dad always brought me up to be like really polite and smiley, and you gotta we always gotta be like, well, don't get too drunk because something could happen to you, or don't walk home at night. And I mean, that's all safe things and we have to do it, but it's just kind of shit that there's not the same thing on the, hey, why don't you not rape someone if they're too
don't
drunk?
get too drunk and rape a girl.
Yeah, why don't you not be creeping in the corner at night and like attack her? And it's just we're just not as strong, or we're not as, but yeah, we don't want to be also like.
It could be a parent thing, because my mom today called me and she goes, don't go to the park late with Seaver because 2 people were kidnapped in Astoria. She just
That's
said
good.
that.
I like to hear
And
that.
I
Your
was
mom's
just-
not being
Your
misogynist.
mom wants to make sure that no one takes the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I also think your mom maybe was like, was that you? Did you take somebody? She's trying to get it from you.
Why did I take somebody? I don't like beating around myself. Why did I take somebody else?
All right. Well, listen.
Wait, I got one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more question. This is a sex question. Now, you're in Ireland, and you see, I'm sure, a lot of uncut beef. Now, what was it like coming over here and getting the cut? What? First
Foreskin,
time.
He's talking about
I
foreskin.
think it's awful that you guys don't have your foreskins.
I have it.
Oh, you have it
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Thank you.
Because
What was the first shocking moment? You're like, what is that?
I didn't really, because I was really drunk the first year, so I didn't.
Nazi
really,
helmet.
I didn't really look at a lot of the penises like that much, if that makes sense. I was just because when they're hard,
Yeah, they're not-
They look the same.
yeah.
So it wasn't until I started going like boyfriends and not just like.
Then you see
casual.
the cardigan.
Yeah, and I still like with my boyfriends, and I was like, oh my god, it just looks like they're scarred a bit. They look a bit.
They
like,
are scarred. There's a scar there because
I know,
their
it's so
penis was
sad.
chopped.
I
It's a
don't
badge of
like it.
honor.
No,
That's what
That's
they
what we
call it.
call it,
Badge
yeah.
of honor.
Well,
but you know what's
war
good about
wounds.
it though? You guys, if you don't have the top, are more comfortable wearing condoms than guys who have a foreskin.
Yeah, because it could rip.
It's like because so when your foreskin pulls back, the sensitivity is so amazing that if it's in a vagina, it's way better. Whereas you guys don't have that, so it's kind of the same. It's not as different as it is for guys with foreskins. And I get a UTI when a penis even looks at me. So if I can have a boyfriend who will wear condoms for as long as possible, I'm like really happy.
Your Irish girlfriend's ever seen the old Hitler helmet?
I mean, I don't think so.
Did they ask you when,
Yeah,
when you went back over? Like, what's it like?
You ever call them, tell them about the mushroom?
No, I don't
no.
remember ever talking about it, to be honest.
Once you get to Ireland, you just shut off all emotions.
And, like,
Back in North America,
my accent-
family?
tampons flying all over the place.
My
Here you go,
accent
guys.
gets thicker. I'm like,
They check you at the border when you get your passport. You're like, and you're here, and shut the fuck up. And they go.
Sure, shut the
Get
fuck up,
on with
passport.
it.
You're not allowed to have any feelings anymore. Good day.
It wasn't Phil Duckett, by the way. I can't deal with
There's
that.
the guilt. One last question. Is there like a question we could ask about like what you know?
Well, we're always trying to. Thank you
not
first
the
of
kids
all.
one, not
no,
the
no,
kids
no, no,
one.
no. We'll do the
Mike,
basic
for
one.
fuck's sakes.
It's a good one. Like this was really enlightening.
What would you tell
we got very enlightening.
learn or some shit
Well,
like
how about the regret one?
Nah,
Well, you asked. Pick one then.
You know, okay. How about a young Irish girl? Maybe maybe not come to America. She's going to be an Irish. What would you tell her? What was advice that you would give someone that you wish you knew, or back in the day when you were a kid?
Masturbate.
In Ireland. Okay,
Yeah.
but you weren't masturbating.
No, I didn't. I once put a finger up inside me and was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then
Same thing I felt when the first time I did
I was
that.
like, it's gonna chop my
what
finger
is
off.
this?
I said, oh, it's a good time.
I didn't masturbate until years living here. So it was 27.
Here?
Yeah, 27 before I started. And then I made it like a job because I realized I wasn't like orgasming, or like the feeling of orgasming feels like you're going to wet yourself for women. And then so there's that feeling,
never knew that.
and it's also a feeling of the same feeling of regret before you get the pleasure. So if you're having sex without orgasming, it just feels like the same feeling as regret. And even
Regret?
it's funny because even now when I orgasm, I get that feeling of like a low where it's like, and then you know like that gut in your stomach, and then it's like, so it makes it
Why they
work.
cry when they have sex with me?
Yeah, there's no, it's just like the saddest thing.
I get that feeling when I
ever.
gamble.
Should I place this bet? I don't know.
Oh God, that's regret.
So
no, that's
I would like I made a thing.
27.
Yeah, and I started like masturbating every night, trying to like figure out. I remember one time having my legs up against the wall, trying to figure figure out how to do it. But and then
my
eventually I
God.
figured it out. But I'd say learn your body basically.
Okay.
Clit work because I didn't really know about the clit.
I like that. Clit work.
Yeah, because I didn't know
Okay,
about
well,
it.
hey,
I
And
feel like we
like,
just found the title of the show.
Yeah, we
Clit
definitely.
work. Or be okay with having pubes if you want to have pubes. There's a lot of pressure on Irish women not to have pubes.
Oh, okay.
And when I came over here, I was
In
just like,
Ireland, you mean?
in Ireland, yeah, it's a big thing to be like. Oh yeah, they're like dolphins over there, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the women really put that on. I don't think the guys really give a fuck. But then two my big podcasters in Ireland, two blokes who were on my podcast, were like, "No, we don't want hair." Ugh. And I was like, "No, guys, don't be spreading this." But yeah, there's just like it's just silly because it's like,
So don't.
I kind of don't want hair.
but it's really helpful for like, okay, fair enough. If
You
you're
have a little landing strip. You're gonna fucking
It's gotta
call
be-
Maz.
It's
Tell
gotta
her
be,
to.
it's got, I mean, that's weird, but it's gotta be like neat and stuff like that.
yeah, neat. So let's say neat. Okay, no,
Neat.
which I'm totally on board with that. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, but so neat vagina hair is way
Different
more
than-
helpful than nothing because it's a natural lubricant. It's a helps with shedding against STDs.
Is that
so
why
it's
he's
like a
sweaty all the
protection.
time?
No, and then
Hair lubricant.
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it helps with stopping against STDs. It helps with stopping against UTIs as well because it stops germs going in there as well.
We've talked
Uh,
about UTIs and HPV more than I thought we would this
Yeah.
episode. You came with a lot of knowledge over that.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like horrible experience
No.
of being alive.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
It's
that.
like
but-
Casey Balsham's joke where she says women are just prepared for childbirth by being completely always in pain, like with everything.
Yeah.
But no, what is the other thing it does too? It does.
You're talking
something
about
else.
pubes, the pros of pubes.
Oh yeah, I guess the UTI and STD and the it makes it easy. Like you get turned on better because it's
Really?
it's like a sensitivity thing.
How about like
the hair
pheromones
follicles.
and shit?
Oh yeah, pheromones too. That too.
yeah, hey,
keeps
that's
the pheromones in.
I know pubes.
It was my gynecologist here. She was like, "Don't shave your vagina. It's bad." And then she has like it like all printed up why.
Do that impression one more time before we.
Don't shave your vagina. Even though she's not like a 60-year-old man.
Yeah, one more time. Your gynecologist and go.
Really?
Go.
Don't shave your vagina.
That's the opening clip.
All right.
Thank you so much for doing
Hey,
this. It was
this is so much fun.
Yeah, I feel like we could do this for another 2 hours, but it's very hot in here.
This stays.
But we'll come back another time. This is
this in
now
here.
part of our bouquet.
Thank you. We learned so much about Ireland and
Ireland and Irish
tampons.
women, and I've touched a tampon for the first time on purpose.
I'm having
This
so
is
much
weird.
fun.
angel.
I
Or
was gonna
bat.
say mouse, but
Oh,
yeah,
bat.
angel though. It does look like an angel.
What's the podcast?
Oh, it does.
Could just shout it out.
Oh,
Any?
my podcast is The
friend.
Shift, and my Instagram and TikTok is Katie Boyle Comic, where I post stand-up. So please go there.
Very funny, Katie
Super
Boyle.
funny. Katie
Thank
Boyle,
you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Make sure you check us out, rate, review, subscribe, all that bullshit. YouTube, full video. If you're listening to this, watch on YouTube. It's a lot of fun. You actually see us trying to tear apart tampons. Katie Boyle, thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
I like how you guys already.
That was fun.
Thought it was
Did you have a good time?
I had the best time.